Hey y'all! Today, if you didn't catch the start of season 3, this was our guest that we had on for the first episode of that season. Again, it's Brenden Deeg. That was right around the time of the season that the Eagles kind of turned it around, right before the Broncos and everything. I think we were all getting ready for the draft, and then next thing you know, it's like things are getting carried out of out of whack in the other direction. But Brenden, tell the people about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Brenden Deeg, writer for the National Football Post. I also host the Double Doink podcast, which you can find on all podcast platforms and YouTube as well. So make sure to go subscribe to that. And yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I guess on the Eagles side of things, I've been an Eagles guy basically since I was 7, 8 years old, and love that team, and still have kind of I guess a Twitter audience based around Philadelphia Eagles. So happy to come here and talk some birds with you.
Absolutely. So what era was it that you fell in love with the Eagles? Like, what was the first Eagles team that you were like, all right, I love these guys. This is my squad.
Well, the first vivid memory I have of the Eagles, like I remember where I was watching the game, was actually the 2002 NFC Championship game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Rondé Barber, I believe, right, returned that pick 6 for a touchdown and kind of to rip the hearts out of man. I think I was 7. Yeah, I would have been 7 or 8 years old at that point. And then that team, I fell in love with the kind of that game, that atmosphere game. And then the next year, my dad's actually a diehard Washington Commanders team, I guess you want to call them now. Like I'm in his basement and I got the Washington memorabilia all here. I don't try not to have my camera there because like why don't we talk about Eagles and there's Washington memorabilia all over the wall. But so that year, my dad was like, because I love football. That playoff series, my dad was like, okay, we'll make him watch some more football when the season starts. And then I just felt I was the bad kid that fell in love with the dad's like favorite rival. Like my dad actually like tells friends and family like at work and stuff like I should have let my kids sleep on the lawn. Like I can't believe he's a man.
It's hilarious because that's the area that I actually live. I live in the DMV, which is the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Yeah. So I'm not far from where the Commanders actually practice and all that. And so I moved here during like the Jason Campbell, Mark Brunell, Brunell, Jason Campbell Commanders. Of course, that wasn't the name then.
Yeah, my dad hates, like he's having a hard time. The last like 4 or 5 years, his fandom is starting to kind of to dwindle away. Washington sucks, right? And the ownership is awful. Like he hates
it. Is
Snyder. And I'm sure if you're from that area, I'm sure you hear that a lot. My dad can't stand Dan Snyder. He wakes up every morning hoping that there's some new store that will make him sell the team. So his fanship's dwindling away. But he loves all the Dan Snyder content. Loves when the House of Congress subpoenaed him and whatnot. Like that's the football content he's been following. If that makes sense.
I think, didn't plan to really talk too much about the local team here where I'm at, but I actually think I said this on you guys definitely should listen to it, the last episode. I really think that the Commanders could end up being a sneaky competitive team this year. I think the fans of this team are going to get a better product. I think on the low end, I'm thinking 6-7 wins. I don't think they'll fall much below that. And I think on the high end, I could see this team doing 9, but I really think 8-9 record is. I would take. I don't do sports betting, but that's something. If that's where the line is about 8. If it's under that, I'm taking that for sure.
One of my kind of bigger takes going into this year is that the NFC East isn't going to be a bad division. It'll be better. Like I don't think the Dallas Cowboys, for instance, went 6-0 against the NFC East last year. I don't think they're going to be able to do that this year.
No,
the Eagles went 4-2. No, they lost to the Giants, right? So they would have went 3-3. But I just don't know. Like I think the Giants are also going to be a lot better. I think Washington's going to be like I don't know about a lot better, but they're not going to be. They're not going to be picking the top 10. I think those two teams. I think the NFC East in general is going to be kind of a little bit of a bloodbath between those 4 teams. I think it's going to be anyone can beat anybody every week. I know that's the way it usually is in the NFC East, but I think more emphasized this year. I think the gap has closed. Just from the Giants' perspective, if you just look, getting rid of Joe Judge, like just kicking him out the door, I think wins you at least another 2-3 games just from him not being there, if that makes sense. So I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm very interested to see how the Giants and Washington plays out. Like I think they're kind of key ingredients or key teams for the Eagles' success, how they look as well.
I said it at the time, and I'm glad it bore out. It couldn't happen to a worse opponent. The Cowboys, in my opinion, factually, yes, they went 6-0 in the NFC East last year. They went 5-0-1. In the world that I work in, my profession, there's abstentions. Them playing their starters well into the fourth quarter against, Tyree Jackson and people like that, it set them up to fail in the playoffs. They weren't ready. There's no way that they go 6-0 in the division. Yeah, I'm not even sure that they're second in our division this year.
You're again not a bad take at all. Like I think Washington and the Giants have closed the gap, and Dallas is arguably one of the few teams in the NFL this year that got worse from subtraction just of players, right? Like usually teams get better, right? Like you're going in the offseason trying to add talent. The Cowboys had their talent kind of ripped from their grasp. Sorry. So it's this is super interesting division. Like super, just the 4 teams in it are kind of, you can argue, some of the 4 of the most interesting NFL teams this year.
The Cowboys will always be interesting, but the way that they build their team is not. It was conducive to this kind of thing happening, them having to kind of quickly get rid of guys. The Jalen Smith deal really hurts them pretty badly. Yeah. Amari Cooper is a great player. He helped them figure out that they wanted Dak, but he wasn't good enough where he was really going to completely take over and be like a old school Julio Jones or somebody like that. So, yeah, you could see this coming construction wise years ago. If they had a window there, they had the last maybe 2 years to go far, and they've cowboyed it up. But
for them to blow, again, this is not just me being a homer and ripping the team I hate the most, but the Dallas Cowboys had their shot. Like you said, they had a 3-4 year window where they had a rookie contract for a quarterback, and not just any rookie contract, a 4th round rookie contract. Like that's like you're paying what? How much did he make? $800K? Like maybe less than that, right?
No kidding.
1st round picks get like 6 to 10 million. I don't know exactly, but somewhere in that range, right? If you're a 1st round rookie, and then like if you're a 4th round rookie, you're making $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. So to be able to have that luxury of not having to pay Dak, and then just kind of it all falling apart. Like they won 1 playoff game, I think, with them. I believe, right? They beat the Seahawks. Was it Seattle? Seattle, yes, Dak had that great play at the end. I think he ran for the 1st down. That was it. That was their only playoff success with Dak. It's if I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be ripping my hair out every night. It would be terrible.
Today on First Things First, which I watch to varying degrees. Some days it's really good. Some days, it's not so very good. But today, Nick Wright put up an interesting stat on the screen. Since the Cowboys last played in the Super Bowl, they're one of 3 teams to have not even played in a conference championship. That group includes the aforementioned Commanders.
Yeah,
the Lions and them.
And then Dallas. That's not good company. Like, you don't want to be in Washington and Detroit's company. Like it's the wrong party to party with.
America's team.
Yeah,
America's team. But back into Philadelphia, if this has become a big source of conversation, if Jalen Hurts plays well this year, gets the Eagles to a very competitive, 2nd round finish, divisional round, maybe not get to the conference championship, but clearly takes that next step in his evolution as a player. Are you of the mind to pay him early, maybe even before the season's over? Or are you in the camp that wants to continue to watch and see how far, just in case?
So I know I would not pay Jalen Hurts before the season. My big Jalen Hurts take, and I said this on my podcast last week for our first episode back when we were talking about the Eagles. My Jalen Hurts take going into this year is, I know this may be a crappy one, but I have no idea what to expect. I think there's a wide range of outcomes that can happen with Jalen Hurts this season. And from the low end of those outcomes, it could be a guy that completely fails out, did not get better as a passer, and the Eagles have clearly looked at him and said he's not our future. I think that's a legitimate outcome that could happen. I think there's a middle ground where you can kind of play like he did last year, where you're kind of on your toes, like he showed enough, he didn't really show enough, and you have the fan base kind of split 50-50. And then I think there's another outcome where he takes a jump and he turns out to be a top 7 to 10 quarterback in this league because he has the physical traits. He's got the quickness. He's got the body type. His running ability is so underrated. The way that I think he was the second most efficient quarterback running the ball besides Josh Allen last year. Josh Allen, the Bills didn't have a running game at all, and Josh Allen had to do that. The way he's able to open up the field for the running backs, like there was some that Denver game, and I'll give the offensive line some credit as well. They definitely deserve it. But that Denver, the Chargers, that stretching those football games, Jalen Hurts was able to move and run so efficiently and so well. It opened up massive holes. Like Boston Scott was running through like 5-yard holes because they're taking away Jalen Hurts, right? Like, I think that is something. And I think people underrate that. And if he can just get better as a passer, then there's that outcome where you're saying, okay, this guy, you can definitely sign him. Now, again, I don't know where my take was it's a 50-50 toss-up. I think there's a 50% chance he's a quarterback next year, a 50% chance he's not. Like I think it's, I don't know. I watched, the 3 weeks off that I took off, didn't do any podcasts and kind of get ready for the season. I watched a ton of Jalen Hurts tape. I watched them all 22, kind of download it all, and I just kept shaking my head. I'm like, there's the guy that you want to see, then there's the guy you don't want to see. Like it was so up and down, it was so inconsistent where I need another.
It's like Jerry on Seinfeld had a lover, somebody he was dating, and every time he saw that person, they kind of looked different. They had the same kind of.
Yeah, I know that episode. Yeah, no, 100% right. Like I don't know. I didn't really know what to make of him, so I'm honestly giving it another 8 to 10 games before I kind of want to make my legit opinion.
Oh yeah, not before the season, but say that he does ball out, and finish the season.
Yeah. So that's where I want to kind of tail this to. So I pulled up the quarterback contracts that the top quarterbacks paid. Now, your Aaron Rodgers making the most. He's $50 million, and Kyler Murray 46, Watson 46, Patrick Mahomes 45. My guess, if I was a betting man, I think there's probably a 95 to 100%, 99% chance that Jalen Hurts is not going to shine like a Patrick Mahomes, or a Josh Allen, right? So I don't think he's going to make that type of money.
No,
but there's an interesting kind of middle ground with quarterback contracts right now, where you got Matt Stafford making 40, Dak Prescott making 40, Russell Wilson making 35. I'm assuming his contract's going to get extended after this year. Then Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz are all in like the $35 to $32 million range. If Jalen Hurts plays on the third outcome that I said, where he looks better, he looks better passing the ball, he looks like he's got chemistry with these guys, he looks like the leader, you can kind of say, okay, I want this guy for the next 2 to 3 years. I'm completely fine with paying $35 to $40 million a year. Again,
tier 2 money.
But it's still high end tier 2 money. Like look at like right now, I think I would take Kirk Cousins over Jalen Hurts to be the quarterback next year, just from a 1 year sample. Okay, like if I drop Kirk Cousins on the Eagles right now, I feel like I'd probably get the better outcome. Like I think as a betting man, because Kirk Cousins I feel like is all underrated, and he's making $35 million right now.
I think again the 1 year proposition changes things because that's, and then the leadership. I don't know if Kirk Cousins has it in him to lead a 2-5 football team to the playoffs.
So it's a weird fit. I agree. Let's put it like Kirk Cousins at the top of the teeter-totter where it kind of falls down. Like you don't know. Kirk Cousins is probably the baseline, right? So
what's he got?
He's making $35 million a year. So
there you go, Jalen. If you're listening,
and I think that Jalen Hurts would accept the fact that he says, okay, look, I was a second-round pick. I'm going into my 4th year. I'm about to sign a 3-year, $35 million per year contract.
Yes.
After 1 good year, I think that's reasonable. Yes. I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to get into the $40+ million range. Yep. Again, if he looks like Patrick Mahomes or he looks like as good as Deshaun Watson is or something like that, then you're getting into a different conversation. But the most likely scenario, I think, is he looks just a little better than last year, and then the Eagles are kind of maybe give him a 1 to 2 year deal, something like 1, 2, 3 year deal. just something short. I don't think a 5-year contract's coming. Like I don't think that's gonna happen. And they can also franchise tag him. So they're not really fully locked, need to pay him after this year. You can play the franchise tag game, but that game gets risky. You don't know, like he could play even better after the franchise tag, then you're stuck paying him more money. So there's a lot of different ways that this can go.
I can't remember who the last player that it's probably been at least 20 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I don't remember the last guy that the Eagles franchise tagged. That's an interesting trivia question, WIP.
Yeah. I'm trying to look that up, but looks like the last one was Deshaun Jackson in 2012.
Wow.
Been that long.
And then he played, they tagged him on, and then he played in 13, and then we got rid of him.
Yeah. That was Chip. I think, he played 2013. He was there. 2014, I believe he was cut, right? Heading into 2015.
That was the spring of 14.
Yeah. So
they said he was a gang member.
Yeah. God. That was one of those things I still remember where I was when I found out.
Me too.
I remember how angry I was, because he was my favorite. He's a top 5 favorite Eagle for me. I loved watching him play. He's arguably the most exciting football player I've ever watched in my lifetime. Like I was a little young for the Randy Moss stuff. I'm assuming a lot of people would bring him up, but Deshaun Jackson was a baby Moss, man. Like he was the way he was able to stretch the field. But yeah, so 2012, it's been a decade.
I don't see it happening. I see, like you said, 35. We'll do 3-year, 35.
Yeah,
4-year. What's that? 140.
Yeah, and I'm exactly. And I'm assuming what they could do. If you looked at Derek Carr's contract this year, I was looking up. I don't know. I get down rabbit holes. I look up contracts online, but I was looking up NFL quarterback contracts earlier today, and the Derek Carr one caught my eye because the Raiders can realistically it's a 1-year contract. It's signed as a 4-year, but the way the guaranteed money split up, it's a lot of funny money. So if, let's say, he doesn't play well this year, the Raiders can move off him, and I think they only have to take like a $10 to $12 million cap.
Wow.
So like realistically, he signed a 4-year deal, but it's not a 4-year deal. That's how NFL contracts can work, right? So there's a lot, and we know Howie Roseman's really good at this kind of thing. Like he's really good at finding ways to kind of manipulate the cap. So I think the Jalen Hurts contract conversation is we're 3 months, maybe a little too fast.
Oh yeah.
No. Just in general, like you're right. It's been a topic of conversation. It's been one of the biggest topics. I don't really know. I don't know what it's going to look like. So much is going to be it's going to look different. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's the next question I was going to ask you, which is I'll make the segue more explicit. Is Lamar Jackson is somebody who has won an MVP, I think unanimous MVP, and he's still bargaining for his money. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit more money than even what we were discussing for Jalen Hurts, but Lamar Jackson has had, if you don't want to call it excellence, sustained very good play. Everybody, go look, whether you love, hate Lamar Jackson, look at his win-loss. Look at his stats. If you want to just look at passing statistics, forget that the guy is electric with the football. So where I wanted to go is, where do you think that the Lamar Jackson thing goes? Do you think that he gets more or less than Deshaun Watson got?
I think Kyler Murray's contract's probably the one you're going to see. He probably wants 50 plus. It's hard. I had Jordan Schultz, who's an NFL insider, on my podcast today, and I actually asked him this exact question. He's got a lot of connects and stuff, and he says Lamar Jackson's one of the weirder players to kind of evaluate when it comes to what's going to happen. He's very tight-lipped. He's his own agent, and I think he talks to his mom. Like I don't think he talks to a lot of people. And the Ravens are an organization that also is very tight-lipped. So it's very hard to get info out of that building, especially Lamar Jackson when he's his own agent. He doesn't talk to a lot of people. So literally tomorrow we could see a bombshell of 4-year, 5-year contract for Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray extension. Like I think that's the most likely scenario. I'm assuming if I'm Baltimore, I'm doing this now. I'm not doing the franchise tag crap. No. Lamar Jackson's a top 7 to 10 quarterback in the NFL. Yes. And when you have a top 7 to 10 quarterback in the NFL, you pay him. That's always been my philosophy. Smart teams don't get rid of good quarterbacks. It's just the way it works. If you have one in your building, pay him now. And look, look at the way the Dak Prescott contract's working right now for the Cowboys. It's awesome. Again, I had the list up. He's making $40 million a year. I could make the argument Dak Prescott deserved a contract higher than Kyler Murray deserves a contract right now. He's better.
Yeah.
I would have preferred Dak Prescott over Kyler Murray, right? So you're saving $6 million like that by signing your quarterback early. I think that he will get paid before week 1, but again, who knows?
So do you think that the Eagles make a play to go get Jessie Bates from the Bengals?
No. And I also, this is a hot take because I'm always like, I like making my team better. I wouldn't go do it. I would sit. I wouldn't trade assets for him right now. The safety room's thin, like it is. You got Anthony Harris, you got Marcus Epps, you got Kayvon Wallace, Jaquiski Tart. Every team's gonna have a position group that looks like that, right? You can't have stars across the board. There's gonna be a position group that's gonna be like those type of players. A Jessie Bates contract is very tricky, and a trade for him is very tricky because one, he signed the franchise tag, which he cannot be re-signed to an extension now because they already sat out. So if you're bringing him in, you're trading an asset, which will probably be I'm assuming they would want I think a second round pick would be the minimum, right? You might even have to swing a first.
Yes.
I don't know how that would look. Let's say a second round. We'll say a second round pick for this hypothetical.
That's what the Cowboys are reported to be offering, and I guess somebody, unlike the Ravens, have not been tight-lipped about it.
Yeah. So let's say you throw a second round pick this way, okay? I think that's probably fine compensation for Jessie Bates, but then you have to pay that. You have to fit that $12 million under the cap this year for this franchise tag, and then you have to extend him. It's not just a second round pick you're trading. You're trading for a contract extension after already paying him $12 million. He's got all the leverage here. He doesn't have to sign a contract right now. He doesn't have to extend. Or after the year starts, because they can't even extend him. You have to wait a year to extend him. So now he's stuck without leverage. What if something happens? What if this team finishes, let's say 6-11 or 7-10? He's not happy or something like that. Kind of gets in the way, and he gets a better contract offer for someone else. You don't want him to hit the open market. So I think it's just a Jessie Bates contract. Just the way the situation is set up, it's very tricky. It's a lot of moving parts. So I personally would stay away from Jessie Bates. Again, I'm all for making the team better. I know he's a popular name in the fan base because the safety room's thin, but I don't see it. I think it's when you punt on and kind of move on.
And I think I think we might have a different conversation. I wrote a piece in the Liberty Line about I believe that Marcus Epps is kind of like the defensive X factor for this upcoming season. If Epps were to be, to get hurt or something like that, maybe we're having a different conversation because then you're getting really desperate. You're picking up a camp body to play that free safety position. We have hitters. We have Anthony Harris. We have Tart. They need that kind of roaming free safety kind of player. Yep. And I'm hearing that Marcus Epps is good. I've even heard today he had a good day.
He had apparently one of the better days. He had the pick in the end zone, I believe, or it's apparently made a great play on it too. I just look, if let's say there was just the way the Jessie Bates situation is set up with the franchise tag, how young he is, the contract have to come with it, the asset you'd have to give up. The Bengals are also a very funny team. They don't like trading anybody. The Bengals are a family run. They're the only. I don't know if you know this. They're the only organization that doesn't have a GM. They don't have a GM title.
Wow.
I can't remember what the guy's name is. He's like he's a president of player development who does their trades and their signings, but they don't have like a GM title. They are a very pay-as-you-go franchise. They're like the Packers in that way. Like we pay our players as they go. We don't trade them. We build within. They're not a team that's going to make some blockbuster trades for a 25-year-old safety. I think they're fine with, okay, go sit. If you don't want to play, go sit down. Like they're not going to get in the media business of he's available and whatnot. They're not a media team. So I just don't see it happening. But I also was on a radio hit this year where I said I don't see a Russell Wilson trade happening. And then on the radio hit 5 minutes later, he got traded. So what the hell do I know? that was the most embarrassing part of the offseason. That was nuts. That was the most nuts 10 minutes of my entire life.
So how good do you think that they will be, the Broncos, after getting Russell?
I think it's going to take a year. I don't know if it's going to happen right away. I think they should be patient. I think Denver fans should be patient and give Wilson 2 to 3 more years to kind of maybe get the chemistry together. The rosters are good, but they don't have like a stacked roster around them. They have a lot of unknowns. Like Jerry Jeudy, again, the talent's there, but He hasn't kind of been what he's supposed to be. They've got a bunch of guys that they need to kind of prove it too. So I'd say just hold on. Broncos, if they finish 9-8 and they look good, I think Broncos fans should be fine with that. And we got 2 to 3 more years to get this done, because that division is also really, really good, darn good. So
It is.
I think they're the third best team in their division, if that makes sense. And that's not terrible. Like, I think they could finish 9-8 and still look fine.
I think you're in a situation where nobody in that division wins less than 9 games.
Yeah.
Scary. They're going to be scary good.
Yeah.
So on your camp predictions, you said something.
Caused a ruckus today. Okay, I probably should have put what I would like to see in training camp, not predictions, because number 2 is probably not going to happen, and number 3 is already not going to happen. Before I sent that tweet out, I think an hour later, Nick Sirianni had his press conference and said there's no right guard competition. So Isaac Seumalo has solidified. They are giving him the right guard job. We were all under assumption, and the media was under assumption. I was under assumption that would be the one spot on the roster that there would be a competition for. It made sense. Driscoll played really well at right guard last year. I mean, he got hurt. Seumalo didn't play all last year. It looked like the one hole on the roster where you could say there's a 50-50 chance for both guys. And they completely shut that down today at the media day. So number 3 is definitely not going to happen already before training camp's one day in.
What did exactly you said? What were your exact words? That Driscoll gets the start at right guard?
Yeah, I said he would win. I said he'd win the competition. Driscoll wins the right guard starting job because, again, every Eagles media has been talking about it. It's been a lot of speculation that would be the spot where there's competition, where there's not like a solidified starter, and it didn't make sense. Like, I really liked Jack Driscoll at right guard. I think he's a great young guy to have in the building. And the other thing is Isaac Seumalo's contract is very interesting. The Eagles can save about $6 million by trading him after June 1st. So it's already past June 1st. So they can save about $6 million, and he's a free agent after this year. So it all the pieces were coming together for me to say, okay, let's say if Jack Driscoll does play well, looks good in training camp, he wins that job, and then the Eagles can maybe get an asset for Isaac Seumalo. I know you want that depth at the offensive line, which is important, but a team, let's say a right guard gets hurt across the league, right? A team could put a high penny and trade you a nice asset for that. So, and Howie Roseman, I think I saw the stat where he's made 13 trades in the last 10 years between when training camp starts and the season starts. He's a wheeler and dealer in this time of year. So that's over one a year. Over the last decade, he's averaged at least more than one trade per off season. So I was just trying to put the pieces together. Yeah, the other one. Yep. Say it.
That's why I'm kind of making, for the listeners, I'm making faces at Brenden, because I'm not sure that he's selling himself short. I'm not sure that you're wrong just yet. Isaac Seumalo, you may give the guy the chance because Seumalo has the best tape on Madden at the moment, has the highest overall. But and for the record, Seumalo has been very good for the Eagles and has been flexible. But maybe you've got to put that out there so a team that is interested. No, this isn't a depth guard for us. This is our starting right guard, and we get a higher draft pick for it. And again, I like Seumalo. This is just real football analysis.
He hasn't really been able to stay healthy, and he's been up and down. Before he got hurt, I think it was 2020. He wasn't playing well at all. And then I think he played better when he got off the DL, but he's been a rocky guy. He's been okay. He's been his fine starter, but I think Jack Driscoll has a higher upside on the roster. He's only 25 years old. He's under contract for one more year. The thing with Driscoll too is it matches what I said about Isaac. He hasn't been able to stay healthy either. Driscoll's injuries have been kind of he's been banged up since he's been with the Eagles. So
you think go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'm done. Go.
Do you think Awasika ends up being a camp body practice squad, or do you think that Awasika has a real spot?
I think Kyle Awasika makes the team as of right now. I think he makes the roster. I think the Eagles probably take 10 offensive linemen. They like to develop them. When you got Jeff Selton there, it makes sense. Keep these younger guys, right? And I think the Eagles go lesser on running back and wide receiver this year and kind of add more developmental guys in other positions like offensive line.
Well, if they can do what they did with Mailata, that
exactly. And then again, you have got Coyote Awosika's young, Jack Driscoll's young. They got so much young depth. Cam Jurgens, Brett Toth, like they got a lot of young, good offensive line pieces. They're really well set up for the future at offensive line.
So the camp prediction, the camp observations. If you could go back and edit the tweet, possible observations was that Jalen Reagor doesn't make the team. Do you think that all of these predictions about him possibly getting traded, do you think that the Eagles are able to do that, or do they at the end of training camp end up just having to say, you're out of here, just cut?
I think it's probably about it. I'll even double down on this and go bolder. I think a 95 to 99% chance that Jalen Reagor is not on the week 1 roster. I don't see it. I don't see the fit for him. So if Jalen Reagor is going to make the team, he's going to be a 5th wide receiver. He's going to be. I don't see him jumping in the top 4. I think the top 4 is pretty solidified. You got AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, and then I don't think
Greg Ward. I'll take it, Greg Ward.
No, but my point is, I don't think Jalen Reagor has the chance to jump into the top 4.
No,
if he was to make the team, he would be the 5th wide receiver. Okay,
at best.
Is Jalen Reagor really fit to be a 5th wide receiver on a roster? He's not going to play special teams and go out there and tackle guys. And that's what you need as 5th wide receiver. You need to play special teams. So he's not out there tackling guys on gunner and punts and stuff like that. That means he's returning kicks. We've seen the Jalen Reagor returner before. We've seen how this movie plays out. He might have single-handedly blown the Buccaneers game in the playoffs because he just kept muffing punts. There's been other times where he muffed punts. He doesn't get explosive when he gets the ball in his hands as a punt returner or kick returner. So again, where's the fit here? The contract is very interesting because I think it's about $2.8 million if they cut him, which is not nothing. $2.8 million is not nothing. It's something, but I think it's in that dicey territory where if the Eagles kind of have to, I think it's already a sunk cost at this point. Like they're not going to get Justin Jefferson from Jalen Reagor. They know they screwed that one up, but I think they might have to just kind of take their medicine and then let him and cut him. And when it comes to the trade thing, do you see a team giving up a legitimate asset for him now? I don't.
Nothing.
He's not worth. And the only trade that can happen, in my opinion, is like a your garbage for my garbage kind of trade. Like if there's a Jalen Reagor like player on another team at a different position, like here's our disappointment, here's your disappointment. Let's swap them and we'll see if we can make our disappointments better. Like maybe kind of remember like Dorial Green Beckham for Dennis Kelly trade. Back in the day, the Eagles got Dorial Green Beckham for Dennis Kelly, kind of like that. But he's not worth the 7th. What's the point of taking a 7th round pick? There's no upside to it. Teams aren't going to do that. I also think.
Yeah, I mean, all he can do is he could be like a sweeten the pot a little bit on a Dillard trade or something like that.
Yeah,
like if somebody wants a camp body wide receiver, he's a camp body.
Yep. Yeah, and again, I don't see a team making or trading any assets for him. I would be very surprised if he is the 5th wide receiver on this roster, and that's what he'd be. I have a hard time seeing it. There's no point. He's not going to help your team out on a daily basis. He's not getting down in the practice squad either. Like I'm assuming if he doesn't make the team or say he's cut, he'll be waived, and he's not going to sign in a practice squad here. He's too big of an ego, and he doesn't have the personality to be a 5th wide receiver. Also, like he's not going to suck it up and take his medicine and realize that he's just not that good. I think
he's going to go to the Commanders. I'll say by trade deadline, Reagor will be playing on the Commanders.
Realistic possibility. There's a bunch of teams that need wide receiver help that could take a shot on him. He's more valuable elsewhere. Like he doesn't bring any value here.
But people aren't going to give you market value for your TV at the yard sale.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Eagles don't have any leverage. They would rather than see you sit on that $2.8 million. We'll let you make your decision, right? Like they'll make Howie Roseman cut him and then go sign him for a better minimum deal, something like that. But yeah, I'm fairly confident that he's not making the team or just won't be on the team.
From your lips to the ears, because I've been saying this since the moment the season ended. there's no way that he's back. I was saying it before the Bucks game, all of that. They have to let it go. They have to let it go. It's just and by this logic that we've got to keep him because he's a first rounder, do we have to cut Kelsey now because he's a sixth rounder? Yeah. Like, you get the player that you got. Rager is probably topped out. Maybe he'll play better, but Nelson Aguilar got a lot of flack in the city. Nelson Aguilar is significantly better than Jalen Rager.
Yeah, the Nelson Aguilar thing was a lot different than Rager. Nelson Aguilar flashed talent. He got open. Like, Aguilar's problem was just drops. Like, he just had terrible drops and terrible scenarios. Yes. Jalen Rager has that as well. He did it to the Giants. He had those 2 back-to-back drops in the Giants game. And he just doesn't look explosive with the ball in his hand. Like, Nelson Aguilar, to me, had a lot more talent from the eye than Jalen Rager's done. I think it's a completely different scenario.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you were talking about punt return, kick returner. What do you think about the prospect? So, by the way, on your idea of Rager as a 5th wide receiver, hell no. At best, he's a 6th behind Greg Ward.
And I don't think they keep 6 wide receivers. That's another thing I probably should have added. I think they're only keeping 5 wide receivers.
Wow.
So it doesn't make sense really to keep 6. I think the backup tight end position is kind of crazy right now. I think they should keep 4 tight ends, 3 or 4 tight ends. Again, 10 offensive linemen. I also think they should keep more corners. Like, Darius Slay and James Bradbury are getting old, right? So they need to figure out what the future is at that position. Yeah. So I think keeping more development, and they have like 9 developmental young corners on the roster right now. I think they keep about 4 or 5 of them. Like, I think there's other needs. I don't really see a need for a 6 wide receiver on the roster.
Okay.
Right? You know what I mean? That's part of the take. Like, if there's 6, then maybe Rager can sneak in there if they take 6. But I'm assuming they take 5, and he's the odd. And he's
you got to quote tweet yourself on that and be clear. You're like, the other one, obviously, we'll see.
Yeah.
But on Rager, I'm assuming that the Eagles only take 5 because that's important context.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. And I think I added that to a tweet about Rager in the past because, like, it doesn't, 6 wide receivers just does, for this team, they're so top heavy, right? Like AJ Brown, Quez Watkins, Devonta Smith. You want those guys on the field at all times, right? It's not like the Green Bay Packers or Kansas City Chiefs scenario where you have some unknowns in Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. The Packers have like a bunch of young guys. Like, there's a lot of unknowns with different teams, the receiver group. The Eagles have their 3 guys. Like, let's roll with them 3. There's no need to keep a bunch of other guys on the team.
So talking about kick return, punt return, I totally agree with your take about the Buccaneers game. The defense started off okay, then momentum swung because of bad field position brought about in part by Jalen Rager. What do you think about the prospect of keeping a wide receiver, a Britton Covey, or a Devin Allen simply to be a punt returner or kick returner?
I do like it. I would really like to see Britton Covey make this team. I think he's the most interesting wide receiver that they have to be the 5th wide receiver on the team. I think Greg Ward's been a great Eagle. He led the team in receiving yards one year, right? He was the guy that was a quarterback. Like, he's had a great story, great Eagle. Will always respect his play. But I don't. Again, he's similar to Jalen Rager. I don't really see the value of him being a 5th wide receiver on the team. I don't think they need a Greg Ward style to come in and rotate as wide receivers. Again, they're top heavy. They have 3 that they should be playing on all the time. Those guys should be on the field constantly. So I think the 5th wide receiver needs to be a kick returner helping the special teams department. I think Britton Covey does that for you. He's led Utah in punt return yards in school history. I think he led the team in receiving yards at one point. He's a little older. He's 25 years old, so he's got some age on him. He's got some wear and tear, but I think he's an exciting guy to have in the return game. And look, Howie Roseman, he probably how many times do you think Howie Roseman's watched the Jalen Rager muff punt tape? Like, he's had all summer to mold that tape down, right? And
so why is he at camp?
Why is
he there?
My point is I don't think the Eagles they've got a smart front office. They know they need to fix the special teams game. Like, special teams is one of those things where it can lose you a game, it can crush your team, but as long as you just have average, you're going to be okay. And the Eagles did not have an average special teams unit. They haven't had sparks in that department in a long time. So I think Britton Covey makes a lot of sense for the 5th receiver. Now, Devin Allen's a weird one. I haven't seen a lot of his highlights. He hasn't played football in 6 years. something like that. So there's not
Oregon.
a lot there's not a lot to go off of with Devin Allen. So I don't really know what he's like. So I can't really give a full opinion on him, but he's a hurdler, right? We've all seen that. He was one of the best hurdlers in the world. So he's got the speed. So we'll see. I need a couple of days, a couple of practice tapes, some Twitter tape highlights or Twitter camp highlights to see what Devin Allen looks like. Apparently, he's wearing number 39 at camp, and I was hearing a bunch of reporters say like,
so he just told us he doesn't expect. He's a practice squad player.
Yeah, like if you're 39, if you're number 39 and you're wide receiver, I don't know how much love you're getting, but
did he got set up, or he's trying to tell the world subtly, I don't expect to make the team. Don't expect me to make the team. I'm going to be on this team late if they need me. Week 17.
Yeah, 39 receivers a tough go. I don't know how many eyeballs are getting on you.
That's just awful.
Yeah,
that's the worst thing today in Eagles camp. That's just Oh my gosh. So how long do you think it'll take for Kenny Gainwell to take over as running back one?
So I think that was the boldest one I put. I fully expect. I said by the end of training camp, I think they'll probably split starts by week 1, and it actually looks like today that they had them both splitting touches. I'm really, really high on Gainwell going into this year. When I was rewatching Eagles games, he looked great. He was the second go around watching Eagles games and Eagles tape. I felt kind of more and more in love with the kid. He's young. He hits the hole hard. He goes upfield hard. Great in the red zone. Like he was awesome at finding creases in the red zone and scoring touchdowns. He's still young. And again, he's only going to his second year. He's going to learn a lot. And he played at Memphis. Memphis is a very funny school with running backs. They don't really ask them to be a runner very often. They're more catching out of the backfield. So I think I think he's a later developer. Like I don't think he's scratched the surface yet. I think he's still got a lot more to offer. So I think this year and maybe even next year, you're going to see him kind of blossom into a top 12 running back in this league. So I really, really like Kenneth Gainwell. And it's kind of a perfect storm for him because Miles Sanders is a free agent at the end of this year. And I'm assuming they don't really want to re-sign him. Like, would you pay Miles Sanders top 10 running back money?
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. So that's assuming what he's going to ask or want. He'll probably get that on the open market. Maybe, like top 12, top 15. Let me look up running back contracts here. But, I don't think the Eagles are going to want to do that. They just spent an asset in Kenneth Gainwell, a 5th-round pick, I guess you can call an asset. It's still something. It's not nothing. But the Eagles are going to run into a place or a time where they have to make a decision on Miles Sanders. Let's say a running back gets hurt in training camp. The team needs a running back. Again, he's another trade possibility, I think, before camp. I think he's more of a long shot than Isaac Seumalo was, I thought, before camp. But now it's not maybe looking like that since it looks like they're going to start Seumalo. But yeah, like he's a very interesting guy over the next kind of 365 days a year to see what happens with Miles Sanders.
So let's go through a quick lightning round. More 20-yard plays this year: Quez Watkins or Devontae Smith?
This one, you sent me these before, and this is the one that kind of stumped me the most. I said I was gonna have a decision before, but even during the episode, I've been kind of thinking about this one. I'm gonna go Devontae Smith, but I don't love it. If that makes sense. I'm not. I think this is the least confident I am in these questions you're about to ask. Quez Watkins is going to be open a lot. He's going to be, and that's where he shines, right? 20 yards downfield. It's going to be funny. The first team that sees Quez Watkins run by them are like, now what? We got to stop Devontae Smith. We got Quez Watkins running by us. AJ Brown's on the other side. Like I think Quez Watkins is going to be able to do a lot with this offense.
His acceleration is just ridiculous. He doesn't have the so please, before people say that I said that he's as fast as Deshaun Jackson, I am not saying he's as fast as Deshaun Jackson, but in terms of the acceleration, that is what he reminds me of when he hits the Jets. Mm-hmm. But I don't see him taking a 5-yard out 91 yards like Deshaun did against the Cowboys, but. Mm-hmm. He is very fast. I think if I had to go with it, I've been thinking about it too. I'm going to go with Quez. Like you said, he's just going to be so open.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of opportunities. Like he's going to get targets. Like if you look at it, he's probably like the 5th or 6th down the ladder and like target share. AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, one of the running backs, so 5th probably. But this offense is going to have a lot of opportunities for him, even being the 5th option, I guess.
Yeah, especially if we stop, trying to force the ball to Jalen Reagor. And let's get the ball to Quez Watkins.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, more sacks. Brandon Graham or Josh Sweat?
So this one I thought was easy. I think it's Josh Sweat. I think Brandon Graham has never been I don't think he's ever had a double-digit sacks, right? I think he had 9.5 in 2018, 2019? He had 9.5. Brandon Graham is a great run defender. He's great at clogging the hole. That's what he's made his living off of in a career in Philly. I don't see him having double-digit sacks. While I think there is an opportunity for Josh Sweat to have a double-digit sack season.
Wow,
I think he's got that
sacks.
I thought last year that was a potential. He got off to kind of a rough start. He kicked it off as the year went on. I was really disappointed that he wasn't able to play in Tampa. We never got to see him in that playoff game. But yeah, I think sky's the limit for Josh Sweat, especially now when you have Hassan Reddick on the other side of the ball. I think Josh Sweat's gonna shock some people. He made a Pro Bowl, right? Josh Sweat went to the Pro Bowl. I think he did.
No, that must have been Montez Sweat.
No, was Josh Sweat a late add to the Pro Bowl? I think he might have been.
I would be shocked to hear that.
Yeah, he made the Pro Bowl last year, 2021. He was a late add. He was added to the Pro Bowl roster. So I think again, I don't know. It was that's a Mickey Mouse Pro Bowl, I guess we'll say, Mickey Mouse edition. I think he can earn an actual Pro Bowl this year.
Okay. More total touchdowns, receiving, rushing, passing. Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson?
I'm gonna say Lamar, but again, I don't love it. Lamar Jackson, he just has the track record. He's got the production of it. So if Jalen Hurts does it, it's probably a surprise, right? But again, I think there's a real shot that Jalen Hurts has that type of season where he could not an MVP unanimous season, but I don't think Lamar Jackson will ever do that again either. So
no,
I think there's a chance where Jalen Hurts again can kind of take this lead by storm and be in the top 5 in total touchdowns.
Now this is a hot take from me, so whatever. People who listen, people who watch. I think Jalen Hurts at the end of the season is going to have more total touchdowns. Not that he's a better player, but he's got people who are going to lift him up. Mm-hmm. All Lamar has is Mark Andrews. That's all he has. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because the Ravens have been a good organization. I just don't understand why they stuck with Hollywood Brown so long as their number one. And then I don't think they have anyone of note. Yep.
Lamar's going to do a lot himself. He's going to have to be running around. They also have a really good offensive line. I'm really looking forward to the Ravens this year. I think their run game is going to be spectacular. Like they got J.K. Dobbins coming back, Gus Edwards. They're going to be a fun team. I'm really looking. I love watching those kind of like the Eagles. Like again, the Eagles were a lot of fun when you saw like that run game was fun to watch, right? Like
yes,
shotgun run game was a lot of movement going around. I'm assuming a lot of the plays that the Eagles ran last year, Nick Sirianni probably studied a ton of Baltimore Ravens tape.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I think that type of offense is exciting. So
more touchdowns this season. AJ Brown or Julio Jones, who just now signed a 1-year deal to Tampa Bay to play with Tom Brady.
Oh, we're going AJ Brown here. Come on, AJ Brown all day. I think if another receiver gets hurt, Julio might get bumped in the pecking order, but he's still the 3rd wide receiver on the team right now. AJ Brown's going to be a focal point of this offense. They're going to get him the ball a lot. Jeff Lurie doesn't sign $100 million contracts without making sure he gets his investment back.
But I think that people are going to try to allow Quez and allow Dallas Goedert to kill them, and they're going to probably double AJ.
You can try.
I think it's interesting.
People say that a lot about Cooper Kupp too, and then Cooper Kupp has said, "Screw it." We hear that a lot. I see your point, but if you're that talented, can't stop you. And they have to stop Devonta Smith. They have to stop Dallas Goedert. So
I don't know if AJ Brown is Cooper Kupp, but if he's Cooper Kupp, we're gonna have a hell of a season.
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting that Julio Jones goes to Tampa Bay like a week after Gronk makes it crystal clear there's no chance I'm coming back. Julio's always been a bigger body, red zone target.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of wide receivers kind of transition into a tight end-ish role.
Was Julio that Julio had that 1 year where he didn't have a touchdown?
Yeah,
like 13 or something, right?
Oh my!
I think he's had like historically weird touchdown stats in his career.
He could go off for 20.
Yeah, man, he's probably that. I love that fit though. I really like that signing for Tampa. I think it's a really cool fit. Like to have Julio go and play with Tom Brady. Like I'm assuming this is like this is kind of a match made in heaven at this point for these careers. Like I'm not saying it says like Randy Moss. Randy Moss, of course, I think had a lot more left in the tank and was healthier at that point in his career. But you kind of see shades of it, no, a little bit.
I love the move, and that I'm gonna take Julio Jones. I something about it just jumps out to me is it didn't get a lot of coverage. I was surprised, but I think Julio's got some in the tank. And last year in Tennessee, that was a weird year.
Yeah.
So. Well, Brenden, thank you so much for coming on again. Obviously, got to have you back once the season starts. Where can people follow along in the meantime?
So yeah, you can check me on Twitter at Brenden Deeg NFP. And then make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's a Double Doing Podcast. I'm trying to get more video content out there. Got it all set up for the season. So it's going to be a ton of cool YouTube content. I've had a bunch of cool guests on during the offseason if you want to kind of check back. Had Jordan Schultz on yesterday. Jordan Schultz is the one who broke the Rob Gronkowski news. He's very connected in the league, so it was great to talk to him. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. Love talking to you. This was awesome.
Absolutely, man. Brenden, take care, and I'll see you soon. Go Birds.
Go Birds.